Millionaire CEO offered $1 million for one night with a poor masseur. His secret left her speechless. The sun was starting to set behind the mountains when Alice Parker arrived at the most secluded spa on the Green Coast. She needed to disappear. Far from New York, the flashing cameras, the business partners, the jerk of an ex-fiancé, and the latest scandal with her company's stocks plummeting in real time. She stepped off the helicopter with dark sunglasses hiding her worn-out face. The U reception was breathtaking, but nothing compared to what would come next. On the second day, she booked a reconnective massage. It sounded like cheap marketing. Until Lucas walked into the room. He didn't speak much. Tall, sun-kissed skin, firm but gentle hands. His touch sent shivers down Alice's spine. There was something different about it. She tried to keep control, like she always did. But each movement revealed more than tense muscles. It felt like he was stirring something hidden, deep inside her. By the third session, she spoke. "I'll give you $1 million for one night with me." She said it laughing like it was a joke, but she meant it. He stayed silent for long seconds, then smiled sadly. No. That threw her off. No one ever said no to Alice Parker. No one. That night, she couldn't sleep. She dug into his profile on the spa's system. No last name, no social media, nothing. As if he didn't exist outside that place. The next day, she showed up at the spa's tea lounge just to accidentally bump into him. Lucas smiled, but his eyes were red. Something was wrong. "Why would you turn down that kind of money?" she whispered. "Because I know what it costs," he replied. Alice felt a lump in her throat. He knew pain. That much was clear, but where did it come from? Later, as they walked along the trail to the lookout point, Lucas finally opened up. He was the son of an Angolan tycoon, an heir, but he chose to disappear after his brother killed himself, for being disowned when he refused to follow the family business. Lucas left everything behind, traded a mansion for silence, luxury for human touch. Alice stopped. The wind blew hard, tossing her hair. She looked at him. "Why are you telling me this now?" Lucas lowered his eyes, pulled a small wooden box from his pocket. Inside, a ring with initials Alice knew well. The same ones she saw in Ricardo's secret safe, her ex-fiancé. A chill ran down her spine. "I think we need to talk about what Ricardo is trying to hide from you." "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. It really helps with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Alice froze. The ring in Lucas's hand seemed to shine brighter than the entire sky. Those initials, she had seen them before. In Ricardo's safe. 3 letters engraved in aged gold. AMR. "Where did you get this?" Her voice came out shaky, almost inaudible. "It was my brother's. But he wasn't the last one to wear it," Lucas replied, averting his eyes. The ground seemed to tremble beneath Alice's feet. "Ricardo," she murmured, almost begging for denial. Lucas nodded slowly. "He knew my brother. They were much more than business partners. He knew everything, and took advantage of it, including me." Alice's stomach turned. She tried to speak, but could only let out a choked whimper. The wind cut across her face, but it was the cold inside that hurt more. He knew you before me?" "Before you, before the spa, before everything. He threatened me. Said that if I ever showed up again, he'd blame me for my brother's death, that he'd ruin my life. I ran. I only came back when I found out he was with you." Alice stepped back 2 paces, her face burned, her throat stung, She wanted to scream, punch something, disappear. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I was trying to protect you from him, but now it's too late." The moment those words left his mouth, an explosion shook the ground. It was like thunder coming from beneath the earth. Glass shattered. Screams tore through the spa's silence. Alice and Lucas ran to the main courtyard. Smoke was rising from the helipad. Flames were beginning to take over the side of the building. Staff in panic, barefoot guests running, and in the middle of the chaos, a black car speeding away. Alice recognized the driver. Ricardo. "He was here the whole time?" she screamed, hands clutching her chest, heart pounding like a war drum. Lucas rushed to help a fallen staff member. Alice trembled from head to toe. It felt like everything was falling apart. "He did this to shut you up," Lucas said, breathless. "It's not just about me anymore. Now it's about you too." An alarm began to sound, firefighters arriving, helicopters circling overhead, news cameras trying to get in. Alice looked down at her bare feet, now dirty with ash. Then she heard a beep from the phone hidden in her robe strap. A new message. Unknown number. Just one sentence. "Are you ready to find out who Lucas's father really is?" The phone slipped from her hand. The world stopped. And in that second, nothing, absolutely nothing, made sense anymore. Alice bent down to pick up the phone, but her hands were shaking so much that she dropped it again. Lucas ran over to her, eyes wide. "What is it?" She showed him the screen. He read it, turned pale. "Who sent this?" he asked, almost whispering. "I don't know." Her voice came out in a dry scream. "Do you?" Lucas hesitated, and that second of silence hit Alice like a punch to the stomach. "Lucas? There's something I never told you," he murmured. "About my mother." "What?" Before he could answer, a louder siren cut in. Armed police officers began to surround the spa. One of them pointed directly at Lucas. "Mr. Lucas Amaral Ribeiro, put your hands up and lie on the ground. Now." "What?" Alice screamed. "What's happening?" Lucas froze. His eyes glazed over. It was like he was reliving a trauma. "Don't react, please," he whispered to himself, slowly kneeling down. Alice tried to approach, but two officers held her back. One of them showed a warrant. "He is suspected of involvement in a money laundering scheme and identity concealment connected to the death of Alex Ribeiro." "His brother?" Alice spat the words. "But he committed suicide." The officer looked at her for a moment, and then said, "No, the body was never found, and we have evidence that the brother might still be alive, using a false identity." The world spun. Alice stared at Lucas. He was crying. "Lucas, tell me it's not true." But he lowered his head. "Alice, I'm not who you think I am." "Then who are you?" Silence. Two officers handcuffed Lucas. As they walked him past Alice, he stopped and looked straight into her eyes. "My name isn't Lucas." Alice stepped back. "Then what is your name?" He took a deep breath. "Ricardo. My real name is Ricardo." Alice swallowed hard. Her head throbbed. Her knees went weak. But Ricardo is my ex-fiancé," he replied, eyes full of tears. "That man was never your ex. He's my father." And then, before getting into the police car, he shouted, "His real plan was always you, Alice. You're the final piece." The car sped off. Alice stood there, alone in the smoke, hearing only the sound of sirens fading away, no longer knowing who to trust, or who she even was in this story. Alice stumbled toward a twisted iron chair and collapsed. Her legs no longer obeyed. The world seemed to spin in reverse. A heat rose from her stomach to her chest, but her sweat was cold. She couldn't think. Ricardo, father and son with the same name, lies upon lies. The phone buzzed again. New message, same anonymous source. "You think he was the one lying all along? Look inside the envelope in your black bag, the one that never left the helicopter." Her eyes widened. She jumped to her feet, ran, nearly tripping over the wet debris. The helicopter was still there, intact despite the smoke around it. She climbed the steps with a dry mouth and a heart screaming. She rummaged through the bag until she found the thick envelope with her name handwritten on it. Alice Parker, confidential. She tore it open without hesitation. Inside, old papers, photos, contracts, and in the middle, a yellowed birth certificate. Child's name, Lucas Amaral Parker. Mother's name, Alice Parker. Father's name, unknown. She screamed, loud, like a wounded animal. Images began crashing down in her mind. The emergency delivery over 20 years ago. The premature baby, they said, had died after 2 hours. The nurse who vanished the next day. It all came back with suffocating clarity. Alice dropped to her knees. She sobbed with her entire body. Her hands shook. Her mouth opened without sound. "No, it can't be," she whispered over and over. Her head felt like it would explode. Lucas, Ricardo. It was impossible. But the documents said otherwise. And then she remembered. Those eyes. The way. He held her face with both hands. The shiver she felt at his touch. That strange sensation. Like something had been out of place from the beginning. The scream she let out echoed across the mountain slope. "He's my son?" A shadow appeared behind her, slowly, silently. She turned, still on her knees. It was the nurse, the same one from the hospital. Older, but the face, unmistakable. "I took too long, but I had to come. You never should have believed what they told you that night." Alice couldn't breathe. The words caught in her throat. The woman pulled a flash drive from her pocket and held it out. "This has the nursery footage, the audio, the reports. Your son never died. He was taken under direct orders from a name you know very well." "Who?" Alice screamed. The woman swallowed hard. "Rodrigo Santiago, your father." The world blacked out. Alice collapsed, her face hitting the hard ground. And before passing out, the last thing she saw was the helicopter rising, with someone, mysterious, watching everything from afar, smiling. Alice woke up with the taste of blood in her mouth and a deafening siren slicing through the sky. Her face throbbed. The nurse had vanished. The flash drive was beside her, wrapped in a cloth that smelled of hospital alcohol. She stood up with difficulty. Every muscle screamed. She grabbed the flash drive and stumbled down from the helicopter. The firefighters saw her, ran over, but she slipped away. She needed to get out of there. She needed silence. She entered a side room in the partially destroyed spa. The ceiling was blackened. She shoved the flash drive into a broken laptop that still showed signs of life. The screen flickered, loaded a video. Nursery. Date, May 27, 2003. Premature baby. Stable vital signs. A doctor's voice said, "Mr. Rodrigo, as instructed, we've already arranged the transport of the child. The mother believes he died. The false file is signed." The voice that answered froze Alice's blood. "Good. Keep everything off the record. That child needs to disappear." It was her father's voice. Alice fell backwards. The impact with the ground knocked the air from her lungs. But that wasn't what shook her to the core. It was the name that appeared in the corner of the video. Newborn's name. Miguel Santiago Parker. Her eyes widened. Miguel, not Lucas. Miguel. The video continued. An abrupt cut. Another scene. 4 years later. A boy in an orphanage in Luanda. Sunken eyes. Thin body. Same face. Same expression Lucas had when he went silent. But in the corner of the screen, another name. Lucas Amaral Ribeiro. 2 boys, identical. Alice trembled as if trapped in a freezing chamber. "They were 2, she whispered, her voice breaking. "Twins. Lucas and Miguel." The phone buzzed again. Message with a photo. 2 young men, identical. One in a massage therapist's uniform. The other in a dark suit, smiling beside Ricardo Sr. Message text. "What would you do if you found out the man you love is lying about which of the 2 he really is?" Alice felt the world spin. She no longer knew whom she had met. Who had touched her? Who had looked into her eyes? Lucas? Miguel? Or neither? Then, a sound behind her. Footsteps. Slow. She turned around slowly. 2 identical men stood at the door. "Alice," they said in unison, and smiled. Alice stared at the 2 identical men standing in front of her. The blood drained from her face. The silence was so heavy it could be cut with a knife. They were smiling. At the same time, the same smile, the same gaze, as if they had rehearsed every movement. "Alice," they repeated in unison. She staggered 2 steps back. "Which one of you is Lucas?" Her voice came out more like a desperate whisper than a question. The one on the left stepped forward, so did the one on the right. "Depends," said one. "On what you want to know," finished the other. Alice felt a chill down her spine. This was surreal. A nightmare. But they were both there. Flesh, bone, and mystery. "I'm the one you met at the spa," said the one on the right, pulling the wooden ring box from his pocket. "And I'm the one you saw in the video with Ricardo," said the one on the left, showing the same necklace Lucas had worn the first day they met. She looked from one to the other, her heart pounding against her chest. She had loved, "Who? You are twins?" They looked at each other. Then the one on the left laughed, a dry, soulless laugh. "Not exactly." Alice blinked. The air grew heavier. "What do you mean?" "We're the same person, Alice," said the one on the right with a gaze that chilled the soul. "This," the one on the left pointed to his face, "is just a body. The identity changes. The appearance stays the same." Alice stepped back, tripping over a fallen chair. "Is this a game? A trick?" "It's the truth, or part of it, because you need to be ready to hear the rest." The one on the right stepped closer. "The baby they took from you never died, but he was never just one. They ran tests, split cells, manipulated, cloned." Alice covered her mouth with both hands. Her knees buckled. "My God, you." "We were created as a project," said the one on the left. 2 men, 1 origin, 1 objective. And one of them, the one on the right added, "was programmed to love you." Alice let out a muffled scream. "Programmed?" They nodded, slowly. Their skin glowed under the firelight, reflecting off the wall. But now Alice saw it. Small scars on their necks. A mechanical hum coming from somewhere in their chests. It wasn't just sweat dripping. There were wires. She collapsed into a sitting position. The one on the left extended a flash drive. "Your father isn't who you think. And you, Alice, you aren't either." "What do you mean? I'm not either." The one on the right knelt in front of her, eyes damp. "You weren't born. You were activated." The world blacked out again. But this time, she didn't faint. She stayed awake and wanted to kill someone. Alice stood up slowly, her legs still wobbly, her breathing in spasms. "Programmed to love," she kept repeating as if trying to fit the words into a puzzle that kept changing shape. "You're saying that it was all control?" The 2 men, or whatever they were, exchanged glances. One of them reached out a hand to her. Alice slapped it away. "No, don't touch me," she screamed, her voice tearing through the air. Outside, sirens still wailed, but inside it was just her breathing. Heavy. Sharp. "Leave me alone. Now." Her hand trembled, but her eyes burned. They didn't move. They just lowered their eyes like machines powering down on command. Alice ran. She stumbled over stones, passed through the destroyed garden, crossed the ash-covered courtyard, entered a ransacked bathroom, locked herself inside, looked in the cracked mirror. Even her own reflection looked fake. She turned on the faucet. The water came out brown. She washed her face anyway. She closed her eyes. But when she opened them, something behind her. In the mirror, a figure. Alice spun around. It was him, the father, Rodrigo Santiago, older, Thinner and more cold, eyes like glass, his voice low. Took me a while to see you again, daughter. Alice stumbled backward. You're dead. He smiled, an icy smile. No, I disappeared. Because I needed you. To grow up without questions. She felt her whole body seize up. You took my son. You lied. You created me. I activated you, Alice. He pulled a key from his pocket. Small. Silver. You're the only one who can open the vault. The real one. The one even you don't know exists. Because it's inside you. Alice leaned against the wall, unable to breathe. What do you want? The sequence, the data, the formula. She screamed, I'm not a vault. He took another step closer, his eyes now burned. But you are, and it's almost time to open. She tried to run, but when she turned the knob, stuck, door locked. From the outside, Rodrigo pulled a remote control from his pocket. A red button. This activates the final phase, but I still have a choice. I can still let you go. Alice cried. Why? Why me? He knelt in front of her. For the first time, his voice cracked. Because you were my second chance. I lost the first. Alice's eyes widened. The first? He took an old, cracked photo from his pocket. 2 babies in the arms of a woman with dark hair and eyes just like hers. The first was your mother. Alice collapsed to the floor, disoriented. But before she could react, a gunshot. The window shattered. Rodrigo fell, blood spreading across his shirt. And outside, a drone disappeared into the clouds. On the floor, the remote control blinks, blinks, blinks. And then, lights up. The red button blinked. Alice didn't know whether to run, scream, or explode with it. She stood frozen, feeling her heart beating in her throat. Rodrigo on the floor. Blood leaking slowly. The control there. The light blinking faster. She swallowed hard, bent down, touched the button, didn't press it. Just touched. She wanted to understand, but before she could decide, the door behind her burst open. Alice! It was Miguel, or Lucas. She didn't know anymore. He ran to her and kicked the control away. Don't touch that! He said it was the final phase, she shouted, jumping to her feet. It is. And if it activates, you die. Silence. The blood drained from her face. What? You're the vault. But if the vault is opened without the code, it self-destructs. She staggered, leaned on the sink. The taste of iron returned to her mouth. Then, it's true? I'm not real? He was breathing heavily, sweat pouring. You're real, but you were adjusted. From the beginning. Who did this to me? It wasn't Rodrigo, not just him. Alice felt her legs give way. Then who? He hesitated, and then a voice came from the doorway. Cold, feminine. I did. Alice turned. There, standing with arms crossed, was her mother. Vivian Parker. Alive. No wrinkles, no wheelchair. None of the illnesses they said she had. Alice took 2 steps back. The world was spinning. Mom? Don't call me that. It's no longer necessary. Alice began to cry. It wasn't just confusion. It was betrayal, fear, a gaping hole in her chest. Vivian stepped in, calm steps, eyes locked. Rodrigo was weak, fell in love. I had to fix everything. You were the plan. From the womb. Alice screamed, I'm an experiment? Vivian smiled, but it wasn't a human smile. You are the bearer of the next generation, not just a vault. You are the last compatible genetic code for Project AMR. What? Miguel Lucas tried to pull Alice. We have to get out of here, now. But Vivian raised her hand. And at that moment, Rodrigo's body on the floor began to move. Convulsions, cracks, the sound of bones breaking. Alice froze. His eyes opened again, but they were no longer his. completely black, no pupils. Vivian smiled, satisfied. He was just a receptor. Now he's ready. Ready for what? Alice screamed. Vivian looked at her and said, To carry you back. Rodrigo stood up, whole, and said with a voice that wasn't his, Time's up, Alice. And then the red button's light went out, and all the lights in the room did too. The darkness swallowed everything, a silence so dense you could hear your own blood in your ears. Alice stood still, didn't even blink. She smelled the blood, the mold, the rust dripping from the walls. Miguel, or Lucas, pulled her by the arm, but his fingers were shaking. We have to get out of here. She's going to activate him. For real. But Alice wasn't listening anymore. She could only think of one phrase. Carry you back. Back to where? A crack in the ceiling. Then another, like breaking wood. But the ceiling was concrete. Suddenly a faint red light blinked on the floor. It came from a tube extending from the back of Rodrigo's neck. That was no longer him. It was a thing. Black eyes, skin far too pale, fingers far too long. Vivian leaned against the wall and spoke, emotionless. The capsule is opening. What capsule? Alice screamed, but no one answered. The floor began to vibrate. A lid opened right in the center of the room. A glass cylinder rose slowly, releasing white smoke. Inside, a body, just like hers. Same face, same hair, but the eyes were open, and she was smiling. Alice screamed, backing up until she hit the wall. The air vanished. Her legs gave out. What is that? Vivian smiled again. That is the original. What do you mean, original? Miguel pulled Alice further back. Vivian walked over to the cylinder. This is the real Alice Parker, the one who was born, the one who died, for a few minutes. Long enough for me to duplicate, replicate, reboot. She turned her face. You, Alice, are the copy. The world collapsed. Alice crashed to the ground. The scream ripped out of her. No. Yes. Vivian walked slowly, as if on parade. You are the shadow, the testable version. But something went wrong. You developed too much consciousness, too much love. We need to reboot. Rodrigo, or what was left of him, took a step, and another. His eyes seemed to burn. The hum in his chest grew louder, like a motor about to explode. Miguel stepped in front of Alice. If you touch her, I end it all. Vivian let out a short laugh. You were the most beautiful mistake I ever made. In that moment, the capsule exploded. Glass flying. The woman inside jumped out, naked, unblinking. Alice stared at herself, the other Alice, but something was different. The empty gaze, the upright posture, the veins glowing beneath the skin. You will return, said the original, in a voice that wasn't human. Because you are my extension, Alice screamed. Miguel pulled her back, but the original advanced. I won't go back, she shouted. You don't have to want to, said Vivian, already behind the capsule. You just need to obey. The original Alice touched her fingers to Alice's forehead. That's when it happened. A scream, not hers. From the ceiling, something fell from above. A body, shattered, broken, faceless. Vivian looked up. A new figure appeared at the skylight. Another man, and when he descended, Alice froze. He had Miguel's face, but with green eyes, and his voice was what cut the deepest. Enough. The real Alice is me. Alice was paralyzed. The air disappeared. The green-eyed man who claimed to be her didn't blink. The other two, the soulless clone and Miguel, also froze. Vivian said nothing, just smiled, a dry smile, almost sad. The new Alice descended from the skylight with feline lightness, didn't even dirty the floor. He stopped at the center of the room and pointed at the body of the original Alice lying there, still naked, veins pulsing with a blue glow. That's just the shell, I'm the core. Alice tried to speak, but her mouth wouldn't obey. Her whole body trembled. This is impossible, Miguel muttered, his voice choking. The other Alice turned his face to him and replied, Yes, Miguel, impossible like you being alive. Silence, a silence that screamed in the bones. What do you mean? Alice asked, barely breathing. The man smiled, but it was a pained smile. Miguel died in Luanda at 12, in a fire. Alice stepped back twice, hands over her mouth. No, he's right here. The green-eyed man pointed at Miguel. That's not him, it's the replica. Vivian's grief protocol. She wanted her son back, and she got him. Miguel started crying, but with no tears. His face contorted, but his eyes dry. It's not true, he whispered weakly. Vivian finally spoke. Low, almost a whisper. I couldn't bear the pain. He was my little one. I rebuilt, cloned from the tissue left from the fire. But the behavior was adapted based on the memories I still had. He's not Miguel, but he's the closest I could get. Miguel dropped to his knees, silent, just folding in on himself, shoulders shaking. Alice stared at everything, her mind exploding, her body shutting down. I was created. He was recreated. Rodrigo was corrupted. And you? She pointed at the new man. What are you? He looked at her with a soft, weary expression. I'm you. The consciousness that escaped, before the reset, before full control. Alice leaned against the wall, sweat dripping. She was gasping. What do you mean, escaped? I was expelled. When your copy was activated, my code was deleted. But I survived. I wandered through the servers, the logs, the surveillance drones. A fragment here, another there. I pieced myself together, crawled, until I got a body. He pointed to his own head, and I came back to get you out. Alice collapsed. The cold floor, the taste of blood, the certainty she no longer knew who she was. Vivian stepped closer, slowly. As always. You two need to stop. This is getting out of control. The man looked at her. It was, never your control. And now? Alice gets to choose. Alice raised her head, eyes watery, throat dry. Choose what? The man extended a tablet. Screen on. Just 2 buttons. Activate. Shut down. One of us will disappear forever. The other lives. Alice stood there, frozen. 2 identical men, 2 pasts, 2 truths. A love that may have never existed. She reached out her hand, and then the lights came back on, and all faces turned to the screen, because a third option appeared. No one. Expected. Reset everything, and below. Created by AMR. Alice fell into a seated position, tears streaming. What is this? Vivian stepped back, pale. I didn't program that. Alice touched the screen, and a metallic voice came from the speakers. Hello, Alice. Welcome back to the beginning. The metallic voice still echoed. Welcome back to the beginning. Alice looked at the screen. Her fingers trembled. But it wasn't just fear. It was rage. A heat building inside, as if something was burning behind her chest. She gripped the tablet tightly. Enough, she said quietly. I won't be anyone's puppet anymore. Vivian stepped forward. Careful, Alice. You don't understand what's at stake. Then make me understand, she screamed, standing up with force. The tablet screen flickered again. A map, a red line crossing the ocean, coordinates, a blinking point in Angola, and a phrase written in red letters. Activation key, original blood. Alice blinked, didn't understand at you first. That's when the green-eyed man, the core, spoke calmly. The code is in your blood, Alice, but not yours, hers. He pointed at the original Alice, the one from the cylinder, the one who stepped out of the capsule with the dead stare. Vivian turned immediately. No, she's not ready yet. Too late. The original took one step forward, just one, but it was enough. From the ceiling, a siren blared. The light changed, everything turned red, and then the entire floor began to lower. It was an elevator. Massive, the whole room in motion. Miguel, or what was left of him, shouted, "Hold on to something!" The noise was deafening. Concrete cracking, walls opening. The room descended for nearly 2 minutes, until it stopped, and what emerged below made everyone freeze. An entire city, underground, lights on, metallic towers, glass structures. Alice stepped down a stair, hypnotized. "What is this?" Vivian was crying. "It was never meant to be activated. You weren't the key. You were the obstacle. You were the lock." Alice turned abruptly. "What?" Vivian fell to her knees, trembling. The real experiment was never you. It was the city, the new foundation, and you were created to prevent it from being born. The core walked up to Alice. "But you broke the code, gained memory, gained emotion. And now, you activated what was dormant." Miguel collapsed into a sitting position, dizzy. All of this was a prison. Vivian screamed. "No, it was protection." The ground trembled. In the distance, footsteps, many, silhouettes emerging from the fog, people, identical, all with Alice's face, hundreds, marching. Alice backed away. "What is this?" The core answered without hesitation. "These are the versions that came before you, the ones that failed, the ones that forgot, the ones that obeyed." She cried without blinking. "And what do they want now?" He looked her in the eyes and said, "You." Alice tried to run, but the versions came from every direction. Vivian screamed in the background, "Kill the original! Kill her before they connect!" Alice froze, and that's when they all stopped at once, looked at her, and spoke together. Mother. Alice couldn't breathe. The hundreds of copies of herself, standing still in the depths of the hidden city, murmuring "Mother" like a choir of broken glass, made the air thicker than concrete. Every step they took toward her made her heart pound out of her chest. Miguel beside her tried to pull her, but she couldn't even feel her arm anymore. "Mother," they all repeated. Alice swallowed hard. "I'm not your mother. I'm the only one who survived," answered one of them, stepping out from the group. She was identical, but the eyes were different. No fear, no anger, just emptiness. She walked up to Alice and knelt. "You bleed. The others don't." Alice stepped back, stumbling. "What does that mean?" The clone lifted her chin, serious. "You are the perfect flaw, the only one with a heart, the only one who can generate." Silence spread like smoke. Miguel froze. "Generate." Vivian, still high up on the platform, shouted, "No, stop, she can't know." "Too late." The clone smiled and said very slowly, "You were made to give birth to the code, the last one, the one no computer could ever process." Alice blinked. The world spun. "I got pregnant?" The clone nodded. "The code is organic, it's inside you, but it hasn't formed yet." She touched Alice's belly, and the touch burned. Vivian screamed louder. "She can't carry it! If she gives birth, the system collapses." In that moment, all the versions screamed at once. One single scream, high-pitched, nearly unbearable. The city walls vibrated, towers trembled, lights flickered, and Alice fainted. But inside the darkness, something changed. She saw, truly saw, a white room, empty chairs, the sound of liquid dripping, and then the image, Ricardo, sitting in front of a baby. The baby was her. "The code will stay hidden for 20 years, he said. "When she loves someone, it begins to wake." Even unconscious, Alice felt the weight of it crushing her chest. And then he appeared, the man from before, the one who claimed to be the original consciousness. But now, with a different form. different face, but the same eyes. You thought you were a daughter, then thought you were a mother. He extended a hand. The light in the white room flickered. But the truth, Alice, is that you are the code. Alice woke with wide eyes, sweating. She was lying at the center of the underground city. The copies surrounded her. Viviane trembled. No, this isn't possible. Miguel fell to his knees, crying like a child, and the loudspeaker echoed again. But now, another voice. Younger, more familiar. Hello, Alice. This is you. Alice slowly lifted her head, and on the city's big screen, a video began. Herself, at 7 years old, speaking to the camera. If you're seeing this, it means the time has come. Alice couldn't blink. The little girl in the video smiled and said, the mission was to hide the code inside the code. Alice touched her own chest, and the child, in the video, pointed the same way. But now, it's time to come out. The entire city went dark, and in the darkness, something awakened. Inside her, Alice opened her eyes. It was dark, but not the same darkness as before. It was silent. The entire underground city had shut down. Nothing vibrated, no sound from the copies, no light. It was as if the world had held its breath. Alice? Miguel whispered. She answered without looking. I'm here. Suddenly a white dot appeared in front of her, small, on the ground, glowing. Alice took a step. The dot grew, a circle, then a line, like a crack of light, and then a silent explosion. The ground split open, but it didn't open downward. It opened upward, like an inverted ceiling. An overwhelming light poured into the space, and with it, something impossible. A room, simple, white, a bed, a chair, a window with a light curtain swaying, and a child sitting on the floor. Alice brought her hand to her mouth. Her legs trembled. The child looked up. Mommy? Alice's heart nearly stopped. She walked slowly, crossing through the brightness, into the room. The light was warm, real. She knelt down. Who are you? The boy looked about 6. Dark hair, the eyes, hers. Did you forget me again? He said, with a sadness that shattered her. Alice cried. She couldn't stop. I don't know anything anymore. He smiled, a small smile, and pointed to a mirror in the corner of the room. It's all in there. Alice walked over to the mirror, but she didn't see her reflection. She saw a room full of doctors and her, lying down, wires on her head, sleeping. She dropped to her knees. Her breath faltered. What is this? The boy came closer and placed his hand on the mirror. It's where you are right now, sleeping. Is this a dream? He shook his head. It's a backup. Alice looked at the mirror again and saw more. Rodrigo, young, crying. Viviane, screaming, out of her mind. And another baby, in her arms. Who is he? The boy answered softly. Your real son, the only one. Alice turned to him in a flash. What do you mean? Lucas, Miguel, all of them. Copies of the copy. Alice began screaming, not out of anger, out of pure despair. Then, who did I love? The boy came closer. A part of you. Alice cried with her whole face. I'm going crazy. He held her hand. No, you're waking up, and that's when the twist happened. In the mirror, the image flickered. Rodrigo screamed. Viviane ran, and Alice, the one who was lying down, opened her eyes. But it wasn't her. It wasn't this Alice. It was another. The boy's voice faltered. She's waking up too early. Alice screamed. Who? The mirror exploded. And on the other side, an Alice without soul, without pain, without limits. She smiled and said, Now it's my turn. The floor of the room cracked. The boy screamed, and before everything collapsed, Alice realized She wasn't the only Alice with consciousness. She was the only one with fear. And the other one, the one who had just awakened, had absolutely nothing to lose. Alice ran. The ground still shook. Her versions screamed behind her. The smoke burned her eyes, but she didn't stop. She felt her heart pounding in her chest like it was going to explode. Miguel was just behind, out of breath. "Alice, wait." She turned a corner, entered a narrow corridor, stumbled, fell to her knees. Her hands scraped, the taste of blood again. She got up, pushed a door. Dark. Inside, silence. A white hallway, clean, cold light. Only one door at the end. She walked slowly, each step heavy, as if dragging chains. Behind her, Miguel appeared. "We need to get out of here." Alice didn't respond. She opened the door. Inside, another white room, and a chair. In the chair, sitting, the little girl from the video, herself, at 7 years old. "Hi, Alice." Alice stopped, dizzy. "What is this?" The girl smiled. "I'm the part you kept. The last one. The one they never managed to erase." Alice was crying. "I don't know what's true anymore." The girl pointed to her own head. "Nothing here is a lie. You just need to remember." Miguel entered slowly, his face dirty, eyes lost. The girl looked at him. "He's not your enemy," Alice whispered. "Is he my son? He's everything you wanted to protect." Alice collapsed into the chair, head in her hands. Then, "Why does it still hurt so much?" The girl approached, touched her face with her tiny cold fingers. "Because you still haven't decided whether you want to be human or eternal." Alice looked up. "I can choose?" "Now you can." She held out a button. Gold. Round. No label. Just a sound. A ticking from inside. If you press it, everything restarts. But this time, with memory. Alice trembled. "And if I don't?" The girl shrugged. "They'll choose for you. And you'll go back to being just a piece of the code." Silence. Miguel took Alice's hand. She looked into his eyes. Still didn't know if he was Lucas, Miguel, or something else. But she knew she loved that gaze. She took a deep breath, pressed the button. Nothing happened. For a second, everything went silent. Then, a sound, loud, like thunder from the inside out. The room shook. The light flickered. The girl smiled. "Now we're talking," Alice screamed. Her body was pulled back, as if the air were tearing, as if time were swallowing her. Miguel tried to hold her, but she vanished. In the middle of the white light, she woke up in the same spa, sun rising, soft breeze, on the massage table, a white robe, and only the sound of birds. She sat up, looked at her hands, her body, everything there. But she knew. Something had changed. She grabbed her phone. A new message. "Welcome back. The mission has only just begun. And now, it's up to you. You must subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss what's coming next." This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now. Rush to the comments and flood them with your theories, guesses, and freakouts over this ending. And please don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends. Only true fans know that supporting like this is what keeps this saga alive. Now go. The code has awakened, and the next stage depends on you.